TLC's Hot and Heavy is proof of the network's commitment to push the envelope when it comes to reality programming focusing on relationships. The show focuses on 3 couples, all of which feature a male of average weight and a female who is obese. Here are some things you may not know about Hot and Heavy. Given the controversial subject matter and provocative title of TLC's Hot and Heavy, it shouldn't be surprising that the series was hit with backlash. What was surprising, however, was how quickly it erupted, and that it struck weeks before a single episode of the series had even aired. A big part of that had to do with a brief teaser that the network shared on social media, introducing the 3 couples featured on the show. TLC's announcement of Hot and Heavy in December 2019 came nearly a month before the show's scheduled premiere date in January 2020. Yet, after people watched the promo, media outlets ranging from CNN to The Blast reported on all the intense controversy the show stirred up. As CNN wrote, TLC has a new reality show about plus-sized women and their thinner love interests, and it's turning into a bigger deal than the network may have imagined. After the promo for Hot and Heavy was unveiled, Twitter lashed out, sending a tsunami of negative backlash toward the network. One Twitter user wrote, "Hot and Heavy? Mixed weight? TLC needs to be canceled immediately. This is ridiculous." In fact, there was no shortage of angry tweets issued as the Twitterverse spewed its collective dismay about the show and its premise. Another person tweeted, "Let me tell you what we're not going to do. This. At all." And another user noted, "I get that obese people need love too, but celebrating morbid obesity is just wrong. It's not something to aspire to. Definitely avoiding this show." On an episode of her daytime talk show, host Tamron Hall discussed the Hot and Heavy controversy, adding she felt the show was treading on dangerous ground. She explained, "In fairness, we know reality TV is not reality, so you have the drama associated with it. I think it's one thing to have a little drama on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, it's another when you're talking about body issues and self-esteem." As anyone who's watched television sitcoms over the last half-century or so can verify, couples in which the male is heavy-set and the female is slim are pretty much par for the course, and there have been numerous examples. Yet the term mixed weight has never been used to describe the characters played by Kevin James and Leah Remini on Kevin Can Wait, as one example. In fact, heavy guys with hot wives have been pretty much a primetime norm. However, the Hot and Heavy announcement and the show's brief teaser made it perfectly clear that the series featured 3 mixed-weight couples in which an average-sized male was involved with a plus-sized female, and not the other way around. This understandably led the show to be criticized for an allegedly sexist double standard. In fact, numerous Twitter users called out TLC for precisely this reason. One person wrote, "So will there be a couple the other way around, him big, her not? Just curious." And another added, "So a show exclusively about men who love plus-size women, but not women who love plus-size men. Why not both ways, TLC?" The title of TLC's show fueled controversy since it emphasized the sexist double standard that appeared to be at the heart of the show. As one Twitter user put it, "This is not okay, and that title is horrible." The show's title also received heat from radio host Vita Loca when she and her co-hosts on her radio show for the Beat 33, Vita Loca in the Morning, weighed in on the controversy. Discussing the widespread criticism of the show, she admitted, "I can kind of get that, because you're calling me heavy but you're calling my man hot." As she pointed out, hot and heavy are not mutually exclusive terms, and a person doesn't have to be one or the other. She added, "You can be heavy and hot. Shout out to Lizzo." While the title Hot and Heavy was immediately criticized for its implication that the men are hot and the heavy women aren't, not everyone had a problem with the show's name. Vita Loca's co-host, Jay Cruz, took more of a devil's advocate position with regard to the show's title, saying, "If the actual people on the show who are heavy don't have a problem with the title, what am I going to sit here and argue about?"
If you don't like the title of the show and it bothers you, don't watch it.
His co-host, Jazzy Black, however, wondered why it was necessary for Hot and Heavy to even exist in the first place, saying, "I don't feel like we should be shining a light on mixed-weight couples. People are loving whoever they want to love. Everybody's loving who they want to love. It doesn't matter if you're big, it doesn't matter if you're black, it doesn't matter if you're white. Why do we need a reality show about it?
Why do we have to emphasize on it? You know what I mean?"
Even though Hot and Heavy was hit with criticism, there were still people who liked what they saw. One Twitter user wrote, "I want to watch this. I'm glad these men feel that way about the love of their lives. It doesn't matter what people think or say if they are in love and happy. That's all that matters." Another Twitter commenter similarly saw the show in a positive light, writing, "They weren't celebrating the fact that they were obese. They are celebrating the fact that love has no boundaries and that these men love these girls no matter what. And that's the beauty of it." During her appearance on the Tamron Hall show, Slink magazine editor Renee Cafaro admitted she didn't want to render judgment based on the trailer without actually seeing the show, but explained that Hot and Heavy was clearly triggering for some folks because, in her words, "We're worried that we're going to be seen again as a freak show, that we don't deserve love, and that I hope is not going to end up being what the message is." Regardless of the controversy, the trailer for Hot and Heavy clearly depicts all three men expressing their desire and appreciation for their respective partners' bodies. One character, Chris, gushed over his plus-size love. "I love every inch of Joy. There are a lot of inches to love."
It's comforting to hold and to grab, and I can't get enough of it, frankly.
The promo also featured another character, Rusty, expressing his desire for his 300-pound partner, Kristen, to actually be larger, while Ricardo described his girlfriend, Adriana, as the hottest woman he's ever seen in his life. So, does society place too much emphasis on weight differences? Body-positive activist Sarah Sapora thinks so, as she told Refinery29 that physical attraction is only one facet in a relationship. She explained that a weight difference between two partners is akin to any other difference that couples encounter as they forge a union together, adding, "We bring our own stories to the table in any partnership. When we have differences of any kind, they'll come up in the context of a relationship developing. Being able to talk about any kind of difference without shame can only help two people grow closer and find common ground." Another concern over Hot and Heavy that emerged after the release of the trailer was that it may be glorifying a fetish. One Twitter user wrote, "A lot of times it is just a fetish. These men usually just love the fact that they're needed, and that's why they try to keep the ladies that size. Once they start losing weight, the men don't find them as attractive anymore." On her daytime talk show episode with Renee Cafaro, Tamron Hall mentioned concerns that the show was, quote, fetishizing these women. Admitting she found the trailer to be cringeworthy, Cafaro said, "It certainly concerns me with how they're going to be portraying plus-sized women."
What is plus size considered anymore, and why do we still use that phrase?
A show like Hot and Heavy by its very nature invites judgment on its subjects. Cafaro explained, "We do face a lot of scrutiny, unfortunately, and I don't blame those who scrutinize us. I just think that it's a cultural issue in society that everywhere you look, all the media is chasing this Hollywood standard that only 1% of the world looks like, and especially women are really forced into that."
We need to allow everyone to be happy that two consensual adults find love and happiness in this usually bleak world.
Of all the criticism that was leveled at the Hot and Heavy promo, the most damning was the accusation that the network was exploiting the women on the show, putting them in situations that were deliberately unflattering and designed to elicit ridicule. It's a difficult charge to counter when one of these moments comes at the very start of the trailer, when three women get into a hot tub together and send a ridiculous amount of displaced water gushing over the edge. One Twitter user wrote, "What the entire and to have the nerve to call it Hot and Heavy? I wish fat people could be on TV without the show always pertaining to their weight and exploiting them." Meanwhile, others questioned the truthfulness of the scene in the trailer featuring a driver zooming by and hurling an insult at one of the lead women.
Cow! Eat my
Okay.
One viewer tweeted, "Now you know damn well nobody gonna randomly do this. TLC really handing out checks for people to be an LOL." Another tweet read, "Quit exploiting obese people. The only reason you are daring to air something like this is to get people to watch your crummy network." While Hot and Heavy may be the most mainstream media representation of mixed-weight couples to date, this particular type of relationship has also been studied by academics. A 2012 paper called "You're Going to Eat That? Relationship Processes and Conflict Among Mixed-Weight Couples" tackled the issue and was published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. According to the abstract, the study examined, quote, conflict among heterosexual mixed weight, meaning one overweight and one healthy weight partner, and matched weight couples, finding that mixed-weight couples, specifically couples including overweight women and healthy weight men, reported greater conflict both generally and on a daily basis, compared to matched weight couples. The study found that relationship satisfaction is actually lower for a mixed weight couple consisting of a heavier female and smaller male than vice versa. While the study didn't theorize whether this was due to social stereotypes, cultural stigma, or other factors, it did determine that being an overweight woman in a relationship with a healthy weight man might be associated with more negative relationship consequences than being an overweight man in a relationship with a healthy weight woman. The phrase mixed weight relationship might be a new one for those who first encountered it in the Hot and Heavy trailer. However, the term itself has been around for a while, and there are some who consider it to be highly problematic. Liam Preston, the head of UK's Be Real campaign for body confidence, told The Independent, "The term mixed weight relationships is essentially another way of labeling people based on the differences in their appearance. It only seeks to highlight the differences in a couple's shape and size." Preston's organization strives to, quote, "change attitudes to body image and help all of us put health above appearance and be confident in our bodies." According to Preston, the term mixed weight implies that two people shouldn't be together because of their different sizes. He explained, "If people want to embrace the label of a mixed weight relationship, then that is great, and individuals should be free to do so. However, many won't feel confident enough to do so, or in fact, not want to at all." Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.